Welcome to Paint Radio with your hosts, Emily Howard and Andrew Dwyer.
Happy Paint Radio to you and yours. I'm Andrew. Emily is Emily. And Emily, how are you?
I'm great.
New year, new you, not you, Emily, but everybody listening. Great time to take a fresh look at things. And so that's what we're doing, right? We're talking about trends. As Emily knows, I'm not a big fan of the term trends because I think we take it as sort of black and white. This is what's happening and it's going to continue. And, I think who knows if that's true. But it's certainly going on. The things we're about to talk about, interesting stuff. I think it's fascinating to think about whether this will actually continue. Because I think some trends turn into splashes in the pan. And that's not the phrase, is it, Emily? Splashes in the pan? Flashes in the pan.
Flashes in the pan.
Some said Andrew Dwyer would be a flash in the pan, and boy, did I prove them wrong. So, trends. Are they going to stick with us or will they burn out? What trends are we talking about today, Emily?
Well, we've got some interesting ones. None of them that are going to be a surprise by any stretch of imagination. Obviously, we're going into another year of uncertainty. We didn't know it the first year, but this is the third year of dealing with COVID and the after effects of COVID. And, a couple of the things that we've basically seen as a result, first off is obviously there's been a rather large labor shortage, and contractors have found different strategies for dealing with that. Some are doing very well. Others are still struggling with it. Materials prices shortage again as well. This continues into 2022. And then obviously my favorite topic, which is technology. The world is a changing in the way that consumers purchase things, the way that people apply for jobs, the way that people really kind of live their lives have changed as a result of technology, and COVID has only accelerated that. So those are three things we're going to run down on today.
Excellent topics, and we have excellent guests. A little bit later on, we're going to be joined by Aaron Moore, painting contractor and co-founder of the CPIA. But first, we're joined by Michael Gogan of Company Cam. Company Cam, and Michael Gogan is actually the host of Company Cam's podcast, and I'm sure he does a far better job than I do. Michael, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well, and you guys are killing the game, so I can't say that I'm doing a better job. My number one takeaway already is that I need a co-host for the podcast.
You cannot steal Emily from me. I would crash and burn without her, so just stop it, Michael. That's shameful. So I have not listened to your podcast yet. Emily has. For the listeners who are listening to this podcast who have not listened to your Contractor's Playbook podcast, what is the gist of that podcast? What do you talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to have to use the word trends here. Your intro set me up really well. But the podcast is called The Contractor's Playbook. So by the name, we try to interview contractors, and really, I want to avoid the kumbaya. I don't want to come in and cut down contractors and be like, man, why would you ever do things like this? But I do want to have real conversations with these contractors so that we can, talk about the struggles that they maybe had to get to where they're at. There are struggles. It's not that everybody just becomes a $5 million contractor in their first year and they win. Obviously, there's a lot of difficult things. And so that's what we really try to focus on is, what difficult things have you had to overcome? How did you overcome those things to get to where you're at today? And that's the Contractor's Playbook in a nutshell.
Well, and you'll never run out of content as long as you're talking about challenges, right? Because there's no shortage of them. And especially, I love what you said about, not everybody walks in and becomes a $5 million contractor, regardless of what space you're in. In fact, that is the anomaly. That almost never happens. You're going to struggle. And so, with that, struggle is the constant, but the type of struggles that many of us are facing are the trends that we're talking about. What do you think that you're going to see in 2022? What kinds of challenges, what kinds of struggles are you guys talking about on Contractor's Playbook?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one that is going nowhere anytime soon is obviously there is the material issues, but hopefully we get past that here at some point in time. And that's honestly one of those that, yeah, we have to be able to adapt to it, but it's kind of out of our control. The one that I feel like is still in our control as business owners is the labor shortage. And that's not going anywhere anytime soon. And that's, I think, going to be definitely one of those conversations that comes up a lot in the Sears podcast is, how are you keeping your team consistent and, avoiding that massive turnover that a lot of companies are seeing right now.
Have you seen any strategies? Have you seen any opportunities that contractors have been able to take advantage of that have helped them retain and find great employees? Because Company Cam works across all the different trades. Yeah. So I wonder if you've heard any really great success stories.
I've got a firsthand story, and I think that it honestly goes back to how you set your company up a long time ago. So I don't want to discourage anyone and be like, well, if you didn't set up a culture that people want to work for and that, is out there in your area and people know about, then you're out of luck. It's like you always can be improving your culture. Your culture is never something that's set in stone. But I'll stay in the painting world. The guys at Webfoot, painting and concrete coatings, we've come to know them pretty well through their relationship with Pentech and our relationship with Pentech. And I sat in on Scott Johnson's presentation at this last meeting, and just the things that they do for their team to build that culture and create that family is second to none. And in doing that, I think the byproduct is retention of employees and even having people want to come and work for this company because they see all of the awesome stuff. They hear all of the stories that are going on and how well they're treated at this company. And I think that's really what you have to strive for as a business owner is you've got to set up that culture that's almost like, it's cliche, but it's almost a family, and it's something that people want to be a part of and that they feel appreciated. And it's not always like, can I pay them the most amount of money? Obviously money helps, but if it's still not an enjoyable job and it's not an enjoyable place to work, the money, I don't think you can pay enough in today's market to say, well, but yeah, I'm paying them great. That line has completely gotten thrown out the window because of the competitive market we're in. And so I really think focusing on your culture and documenting what you're doing with your company and making sure that, all the cool stuff you're doing, that you're letting the world know via social media and all these different platforms that we have. I think those are just really important things. So for me, no better time than now to really focus on your culture of your company and really grow that culture, strengthen that culture, whatever it may be, wherever you're at in the dynamic, but really focusing on being a place that people enjoy working.
Well, I love what you just said about, kind of using social media. And, I respect social media's place in our society now. Not to say that I always love it, but there is a place for it. And I think one of the people that we see in our space do it really well is Zach Kenny. His employees become almost kind of painting industry celebrities because of all the things that they know how to do and they're able to do. Have you guys seen more companies you guys are in the photo business, but are you seeing more of your customers using photos, not as just a means to promote what their company is capable of, but able to promote what it is that their employees are doing?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, honestly, it might be a slight stretch to say that they're using Company Cam for that, but what you're saying is dead on. And it's such a genuine way to create a following for your business as well. I love to sit back as a homeowner and say, well, what kind of contractor do I want to hire? And inevitably I'm on social media. I've got 2 kids. I'm posting about what they're doing in their lives so that my family's that's, not local here can see that, hey, they had basketball this weekend, or they did this, or they did that. And I'm getting hit with ads. And if I'm happen to be in the market for a new roof or a painter or whatever contractor it is, they all can tell me they can put a roof on. They all can tell me they can paint my walls. But if I'm exposed to a company that's showing me how awesome they treat their employees and how much people love to work for this company, in the back of my mind, I'm saying, well, that's the type of company I want to support. And so, yeah, definitely using, photo and video to document what you're doing with your team and how your team is performing and stuff is super valuable. But I think it's the benefit of that is more than just showing like, hey, this is a great place to work. Like, you're going to have the indirect benefits of probably getting jobs because, hey, I saw that you did this for your team, or I saw that you guys hosted this particular thing for youth baseball. That was really awesome. Like, doing good in the world, it just tends to lend itself to reaping rewards. And I think contractors that are really doing well in the game are naturally those that are trying to do good by their employees, by their community, those kind of things.
Yeah, that makes total sense in the sense that, there's a ton of roofers, and are all roofers the same? If I don't know anything about roofers, then yeah, I probably think they are. But then if I get exposed to one on social media who, wow, this person clearly loves being a roofer. I didn't know you could have so much passion for roofing. That's pretty cool. You've humanized an industry that I never really thought about as being human. It was just roofing. So yeah, that whoever can humanize and demonstrate passion for roofing is going to have a leg up when it comes time for the customer, the homeowner, to choose a roofer. To change topics a little bit, Emily mentioned that you all at Company Cam obviously work with quite a few different trades and industries. Which trades or industries do you think have done a really good job of embracing technology? And obviously this is a painting podcast. You do not need to cater painters because, this could be a great time for tough love, Michael, to say, I think painters could learn a lot from the HVAC community.
Absolutely, Andrew. I mean, you kind of took the words out of my mouth right there. And I love the line of tough love because I think technology it's a trend, Andrew. It's coming. We're not going to avoid it. It's coming. And I think HVAC was probably the first of the contractors to really jump on that train of, hey, we have to use technology to make us more efficient in our business. And a big reason for that is that they're running multiple jobs per day per tech. It's not very often that if you just need a simple fix or a simple thing looked at your house, that multiple people are showing up in that HVAC van. It's usually one guy, one van, and he's running several appointments a day. So it did make sense to me why they were maybe a little bit ahead of the game on technology. But they've done a great job of adopting it and really finding ways to make what they're doing more efficient, finding ways to make sure that they know what kind of work their team out in the field's doing without having to, breathe down their neck or actually show up on job sites to check on it. So HVAC is a great example. They're really, really good at leveraging technology. Another one is roofing. Roofing's really good at it. I think one of the biggest things for them is they realized that a lot of roofs, get put on because of some sort of weather event, whether that be wind, hail, whatever. And obviously then you have a third party involved with insurance in that. And so having the ability to use technology to communicate with the three parties involved in the job is really important. But again, that might've been the reason they jumped on the train, but then after they've done that, they've really found ways to leverage technology to be more efficient in getting the job done. I don't want to say painting hasn't jumped on the train, but I will say, because we go to a lot of different painting events, I will say that there's probably not a lot of middle ground with painters. There's a lot that are on the train of technology and they see the benefits that technology can bring to them, and that they can be saving time, and that they can maybe be selling better with their potential clients, or they can be marketing their jobs better, those kind of things. And then there's that other group that are basically, hey, we've been doing this for a long time and it's been working. Not saying it hasn't worked, but that they just haven't jumped on the train. So I would say painting probably has the fewest number of contractors that I work with that are maybe in that middle ground, that are dipping their toes into the technology world.
Yeah.
So that would be kind of my short answer for that. Is HVAC definitely is the most adoption. But all of the trades have really started adopting technology in some capacity.
From looking at what roofing has done and what HVAC has done, have you seen anything that those specific industries have learned that might be helpful as painting is kind of pushed into this tech revolution that we're all facing? Like, should they be sticking their toes in, or or is a all-in head first strategy the better way to go?
Yeah, I think, to keep the analogy going, I think all in head first is the way to go, but I think you need to make sure you know what you're jumping all in head first into, if that makes sense. So like, dipping your toe in, I don't think is going to give you enough value of the technology to see like, yeah, we need to do this. But I also wouldn't just go out in the middle of the ocean and be like, okay, like I listened to this podcast and they said I need to start taking on technology, so let me go grab every single piece of technology and put it in a place. I'm diving headfirst into the middle of the ocean. I think understanding your process that you have in your business and finding ways that, or areas, pinpointing areas where maybe you're not as efficient as you could be. I don't like to use the word inefficient because nobody likes to be inefficient, but where could I be more efficient in my business? And maybe it's manually sending emails to all of our clients, or maybe it's manually sending photos to all of our clients. Whatever it is, find those places where you could become more efficient in your business, and then set out to find technology that's going to help with that, because there's technology to do everything for us in the contracting world. And what I would avoid doing is just getting technology for the sake of getting technology. Go into it with a purpose and say, I want to become more efficient in this. What piece of technology will help me do that? And that will start what is known as that technology stack. So often a good place is either a lightweight CRM, or even like a company cam type of tool that's going to help you have that like job management. And then you'll start to find places where it's like, oh, if only we were more efficient in this. And then you can start adding technology to your stack to where you have a stack that works together, makes sense for your business, makes sense for your workflow. So that would kind of be my answer.
Michael, I'm also going to keep the metaphor going, and I'm going to say, don't just dive in head first. Let's go ahead and have fun with this. Let's cannonball. Okay. Don't dip your toe. Don't dive head first. Cannonball this baby. And that's how we need to embrace technology.
I love it. I love it. And it's, I hate the line brings us back full circle, but I'm going to tell you right now, the companies that are going to have the easiest time to do this will be the ones that cannonballing into technology is not an uncommon thing. That's how they take on any new challenge or task. And it's because they've created that culture in their business to where it's like, you know what, let's do this. Like, whoever made the decision, we trust them. They've always done us right. And they're telling us this is going to help us a lot. They're excited about it. They're jumping in, doing cannonball, backflip, whatever. I'm going to follow and I'm going to be on board, because that truly is the sticking point. That's why I would say avoid dipping your toe in, because you as an owner, you as a GM or whatever it is in your business, you might be on board for this, but if just you're dipping your toe in, you're not going to see the value of the technology. You have to get everybody on board with it.
He's Michael Gauguin. Sorry, I like to Frenchify. It could be Michel Gauguin, right? That would be your French name, right, Michael?
Yeah, I think it would. As long as you don't put an R in there. It's so wild that people put an R in my name very frequently. And the last name,
Where do they put the R?
GRO, the Grogan.
Oh, Grogan. Okay. Sorry. As you can tell, that amuses me. He's Michael Gogan of Company Cam. Check them out at companycam.com, and definitely check out the Contractor's Playbook podcast, because one thing Michael does, he to stick with this metaphor, analogy, simile, he spends all his time with contractors. He travels around, he goes to trade shows, he immerses himself. That's right. I'm going to saturate this podcast with this simile, metaphor, analogy. And so he knows contractors. He loves contractors. And of course, that's the whole premise of Company Cam, to tell your stories. They do it in a fantastic, effective way with images and photos. So check them out at companycam.com. Michael, thank you so much for joining us on this podcast about trends, man. Thank you.
Absolutely. I loved it. It was a good time. I appreciate you guys having me.
Okay, we want to keep the ball rolling, keep getting insights from around the industry, and we're happy to do that with Aaron Moore. You know Aaron, he's the president of PPD Painting in Chicago and Cincinnati. He's also the co-founder of the Commercial Painting Industry Association, the CPIA. Aaron, how are you?
Andrew, I'm great.
Excellent. Thank you for jumping on the podcast. Since I mentioned CPIA, thecpia.com. Update the listeners what's going on in the new year. What are you excited about with the Commercial Painting Industry Association? What's going on?
Well, I mean, it's been a good year. We kind of hit the ground running last year, and we had our first event in Florida in the fall that we had about 100 attendees at. That was a real big success, and we're really excited to kind of grow from there. We've been adding members literally daily. So we've got some international members, which is pretty exciting. We've got some of those guys coming to the States here in a couple months to meet and put them into some peer groups. So we're getting some insights from around the globe, which has been pretty interesting. And probably the biggest thing that we have going is this month we launched our first leadership development peer group, which is for key employees of our membership, which is a facilitated and helps work with the leaders in your company to develop them to the next level. So that's something that was really passionate about and wanted to see from the beginning. And I'm excited to announce that is actually started. And we are holding peer group meetings with key employees, including one of the guys from my team who was featured in your magazine, Bruno.
Nice. And congratulations on the first event. And then also, just in case, for listeners who haven't heard of CPIA, the name kind of explains what it is, but just give your elevator pitch on who CPIA is for.
Yeah, I mean, we're the Commercial Painting Industry Association. So essentially, we're a trade association dedicated to commercial painting contractors, which would be, application of architectural coatings in non-residential segments is kind of how I would define it. And what we have is we have kind of two levels of membership. One is, our kind of charter member, which is access to all of our podcasts, our magazine. We publish Commercial Painting Magazine. We have a bunch of offers from different vendors, attending our events, that sort of thing. And then we have the executive membership, which has a peer group component to it. So when you're part of that, you're placed into a peer group of non-competing contractors that have, 8 to 10 people in that meeting. And we meet every 30 to 45 days, depending on, people's schedule and cadence. We meet in person a couple of times a year, and we're able to just kind of learn from the people that are doing the job that we're actually doing. So other people that own painting companies, in the commercial sector. So that's the basics of the association.
Nice. Well, and you're sitting in an interesting chair because you get to see things from your own company, but then you also get to glean the knowledge from CPIA. So tell us a little bit about just trends that you're seeing, things that you guys are going to be watching for 2022.
Probably, the biggest trend, I think, generally for all industries that you're seeing is just the kind of, if you want to say inflation, but the increase in pricing, right? So we're seeing strong increases in price for materials. We're seeing strong increase in price in labor, and then trying to understand how exactly can we deliver that price increase to our customers, maintain a healthy profit margin. And so that's something that is at the forefront of our mind and the trend that we're trying to keep an eye on, keep our finger on the pulse, try to identify what the competition's doing to make sure that we're able to remain profitable and competitive at the same time. And that's probably the biggest challenge right now for us.
So what are you all I assume that you guys have raised prices this past year.
We did. Yeah, we probably on average maybe like 6 or 7% probably we've raised our prices.
And have you been able at this point, just for your own company and then also for members of CPIA and kind of information that you've gotten back from them, is everybody seem to be retaining their margins, making the margins wider, less? What's happening there?
From our perspective, from my painting company specifically, we've been able to do pretty good job at maintaining margins. We're maybe slightly under from here time to time, but we've done a pretty good job and, remaining profitable. And as the numbers go up, the percentages could slide a hair and still make the same amount of money with the same number of people. So it's been pretty good. As far as my peers and the industry association, it's a discussion that we have regularly about like when to raise prices. Is it the right time to raise prices? But we all have had to adjust our pricing based. If nothing more, just the cost of materials has gone up significantly. We had multiple price increases from vendors in the same year. One of our vendors put an excess charge that hasn't come off yet on top of their bills of 4% or something. So, we're seeing it and we're feeling it, and that has to get passed through to the customer.
So again, as Emily said, you're running your own business, but you're hearing a lot. You've got your finger on the pulse, right? You interact with a ton of contractors. So once somebody makes the decision of, hey, I've got to raise my prices, then the issue is, how do I do it? Do you simply raise prices? How do I communicate it? How do I explain it to my customers? Is it a temporary price increase? What are you hearing from how these price increases are implemented and or communicated to customers?
Yeah, that's a good question, Andrew. We try to just sneak it in and hope nobody notices. There's part of that, and then there's part of it. We've communicated it. So a lot of times, especially when it comes to materials, we'll get a letter notifying us that, hey, at this date, your prices are going to increase by X percentage. So whether that's, our paint manufacturer or lift supplier or this. So a lot of the one thing that we try to turn it, if there's any positive spin on it, is we'll look at our outstanding proposals and send an email, attach that letter to the email and say, hey, we were just notified that our prices are going up. If you would like to lock in your price on this job, you need to let us know by this date so we can order the material and at the price that we've quoted it at. So it also forces some hands to help book work, which I think if there's any positive of it, you can do it that way. So that's one way that we would notify the customer of a price increase. But as far as increasing our prices on labor, we usually don't have a big notification. We just we do put deadline, like our bids are good we shortened our time from 90 days to 30 days because of the uncertainty. So that's one way we kind of have done it. So a couple things there.
I like it. That's good insight. What about on the labor front, the Great Resignation? Are you seeing a new tightening or a further tightening of the labor market? Is it challenging you to represent yourself in a new and different way to the labor market or your fellow contractors?
Well, I don't think that there's any secret that labor has been a challenge, from, fast food all the way through, warehousing, and paint is isn't different there. So yeah, we're focused on it. We're certainly trying to look at, what are we offering? What is the rate of pay? What is the benefits that we can offer? How can we have the right culture? What type of things can we do that make people want to work for you? So just the same as we would try to put out all this good stuff about what a great company we are when we put paint on the wall to attract customers, we need to put that same effort into attracting employees, and even more so now when labor is tight.
Are you all finding that you're spending more on trying to attract new talent, retain current talent? Or is it more or less the same than you have in past years?
Yeah, certainly we're spending more, and we're working with, we're having our marketing firm, instead of work on brochures for clients, we're having them work on advertisements for recruiting. So it's a different, the work hasn't been such an issue in the last year or so. It seems to me, in talking to most painting contractors, us included, we had our biggest year ever. We've expanded to a new market. I mean, the work flow seems to be there. And if you can solve that labor piece, that's the only way you're going to be able to take advantage of what's going on with the work side. So yeah, we're spending on that. We're spending on ads. We were running ads on social media channels that allow some targeting stuff. We're running our typical places like Indeed, Craigslist, those sorts of places. But also doing more on social media and stuff like that is been part of our strategy for sure.
Are you all seeing that the people, like some of the new employees that are coming to work in the field, are you finding a different percentage breakdown from people who have a ton of experience in the painting industry? Or are you seeing people from outside the industry?
Unfortunately, not really.
Okay.
I wish. Primarily our people that come through have some level of painting or trade related experience that would lead them to painting. We're not seeing people who used to be waiters coming to be painters. We haven't had a lot of that. No.
Okay. Any specific trade that you're seeing them transition from, or is it just kind of anecdotal evidence?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that there's hey, you should go after electricians. No, I mean, I wouldn't say that we have anything that we've seen like that. It's mainly just our painters are primarily, we do get people that move companies. I think that's been one way, and a couple people come from one company over to ours, and then they like it where they are. And then next thing you know, a few more guys trickle in because they like the way that we're running our business, maybe better than the business that they're at, or maybe we're paying better, or we offer the right benefit, or, for a variety of reasons.
Aaron, do you think the sense you get from fellow contractors that do they believe that this change in labor is a lasting shift, or is it more of just sort of an anomaly, a blip, a wave that needs to be endured, and we can wait this out and then things will get back to normal?
It's really hard to say. I wish I had a perfect answer to that question. I do think that there are a lot of outside factors that affect it, right? So the real estate in every market I've talked to has gone up, whether you're a renter, an owner, what you're trying to buy a house, whatever. The rents are up. The cost of living has gone up. So with that comes the demand for pay. Hey, I have to pay my rent went from $1,000 to $1,500 a month. I have to come up with an extra $500 or I'm going to lose my house. So I think that as long as that continues to escalate, I don't foresee that the need for additional pay for workers is going to go anywhere. I mean, it just seems very difficult because you still have to be able to put food on the table. And if that food's more expensive, you're going to have to make more money. And so that's, something that I don't see going anywhere. As far as the actual shortage of people, I don't imagine that will last forever.
What about on the demand side? Because, obviously we've seen a massive influx, not just in painting, but construction. Like you said, real estate's been extremely high. And, everybody on this phone was around in 2008. So we know that kind of sick feeling.
Speak for Andrew. I mean, we were in high school, Emily.
That's right. We were. I'm still talking. But we all know that sick feeling, right? You see things going up, up, up. I mean, are you all anticipating? Are you hearing anything around CPIA about, any bubbles bursting or an impending decline?
I think that obviously we're all kind of holding our breath here. We had economists speak at our conference who kind of led to that, but I don't. Everybody seems to be pretty still, optimistic, maybe cautiously optimistic, but I haven't heard a lot of doom. But again, like you said, being around in 08, I don't feel like the years leading up to that collapse, people were like, I got to get out of this. Everyone was like, hey, we should buy another house and rent it out because our house has gone up by double, So I don't know what's going to happen. I think we're certainly, we are still pretty optimistic for this coming year, but we're also cautious. And I think, it's kind of, you have to keep an eye on, what are the industry trends that would affect it overall. So for us, we look at that logistics and distribution and warehousing sector as a very good sector, because one of the things, if COVID taught us something, is being just in time to foreign countries can be problematic, right? That's why we've had all these supply chain shortages, is because of our, ability to get goods from overseas has always been so easy. And all of a sudden it was like, wait, now we can't get that stuff from overseas as easily because this trade is shut down for a minute. So I think you're going to see a lot of people stockpiling some stuff that used to just be kind of more of that just in time situation. So, looking at where is it going to go? And then, I probably wouldn't get into, painting shopping malls. Might not be the best, market to target right now.
I love that approach because it's not, no one can tell the future. It could be a current trend. Trends can end. Trends can accelerate. You just never know. So I appreciate your attitude, Aaron, that there's not much that's obvious, but man, we gotta walk forward with our eyes wide open and be prepared. That's for sure. So what do you've got coming up this year with CPIA that you can tell us about that you don't need to keep secret?
Well, again, we're going to host another event. We're going to do it with the Contractor Connect event again, which is a kind of vendor hosted event. And so we will be doing that. We are finalizing the location right now, so I can't quite announce the exact dates and location. We have a tour next week to make our final decision. So I should have that by the end of the month, early February, we'll announce that. And again, we have this leadership development peer group that just launched, and we're hoping to launch at least 2 additional owner peer groups. I think we're 2 people shy of our 3rd group launching. So that's ready to go soon. And we'll just continue, investing back into the organizational side of stuff. So like members only site and, all the different things that you need, but we just, one step at a time.
Well, Aaron, as I've said many times, if you hold the event here in beautiful Colorado Springs, I would be happy to offer my services. I can shuttle people from the airport to the hotel, anything you need, anything at all.
Perfect.
Keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Aaron Moore of PPD Painting in Chicago and Cincinnati, and he's with CPIA, co-founder of the Commercial Painting Industry Association. Find out more about them at thecpia.com. Aaron, thanks for weighing in with your thoughts. Good stuff, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on, and I'm always available if anybody needs any help, or I'm happy to share what we're up to, and if I can be of assistance, that's what I'm here for.
Take him up on it, people. You heard it. thecpia.com, also ppdpainting.com. Thanks, Aaron.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrew. Thanks, Emily.
Another show in the books. I'll tell you, another trend that's been going on for 98 years. That's American Painting Contractor. That's how long we've been doing it. We love what we do because you love what you do. Find out more advice, more resources, more kindred spirits at paintmag.com.